Hello friends, let's kick off December 1st with some mantle decor that looks good enough to eat. This project is part of Gingerbread Mania, a Can't Sleep Creations collaboration hosted by Shabby Meets Bling, Jody at Southern Seasons, and Up All Night DIY. Be sure to check out the video description for links to all the fabulous projects. So I am starting out with some wood ornaments that I got at Michael's Arts and Crafts, and I am using this gingerbread colored paint from Plaid Crafts and applying it with a pouncer. I like to do this because I can use just enough paint to cover the surface. It kind of creates a texture that mimics gingerbread a little bit, and it also keeps me from getting paint into all those little corners and cracks. So I will be painting all of my elements the same color so that they look like they all came from the same batch of gingerbread. The larger pieces I'm using came from Walmart. You can probably find something similar at your local dollar store or any other budget craft store. So once I have painted everything and it's dried, I went to my silhouette cutting machine and I used StyleTech Craft white glossy vinyl to cut out a couple of different elements that would fit the different faux cookies that I made. I did measure each of the snowflakes so that I had an approximate idea of how big to make all the little bits and pieces to fit on my faux cookies. So you can see I've cut these were just rectangular lines with circles added to the end, and I could either peel and stick them like a sticker, or if you want to, you can also use your transfer tape to pick up a couple of designs at a time and transfer those to your wood surfaces. So I've got the little snowflake edges. I cut a whole bunch of circles, arcs, squares, rectangles, lots of different shapes so that I could decorate my cookies. I know some people like to use puffy paint or different things like that. That works too. I wanted it all to look very consistent, so I decided to go with vinyl, since that way I wouldn't mess up my paint job. Everything looks a little more polished this way. All right, so next up, the base that all of these cookies are going to be displayed on is a large dowel rod. I think this one's about 3 feet long. I have stapled on some rope. That's optional. I'll show you what I did with that in a second. Then I'm using a bunch of these craft boughs. I think these were from Amazon. I'm not sure. I really just raided my craft stash and I was excited to finally, put all these different things to use. So first I taped a bunch of them onto the rod, and then to fill in the rest of the places, I used some floral wire and simply wrapped that around each of these so that I could cover up the rod. So as you can see, I am just covering up the front of that dowel rod. I'm not worried about anyone seeing the back because it is going to go on my mantle. But this rod is just going to help hold everything together, since these faux branches do tend to get a little heavy and I don't want them falling off the mantle. This will keep them all together so that I can add on the rest of my elements, like my faux gingerbread cookies that I just created. To add some candy-colored brightness to this decor, I am using white and red shatterproof ornaments, and all I'm doing is stringing them up on some twine. There you go, all strung up together, alternated red, white, and then I just kind of twisted those around the different branches, and I will arrange those a little bit better when I get it up on the mantle. See, now I've got some nice pops of color, and that's what I did with my rope that I attached to the dowel rod. I simply tied this in place so that children and puppies will hopefully not knock this whole thing off the mantle. Now those larger pieces that I painted, I glued those onto some little pieces of wood, and then the little itty bitty cookie ornaments, I just added some ornament hangers. All right, one last thing that I wanted to add to this was a big pretty bow. So I am using some heat transfer vinyl with the glitter finish, and I will be ironing that onto some burlap. I'll post links to all the different products I used. This is a really nice glitter vinyl that I got on Amazon. So once that's ironed into place, all I have to do is fold and scrunch up this burlap, and see, I made a super cute bow that complements the faux gingerbread. And now that I've finished up my last piece, I can head back over to the mantle and assemble it all together, and let's see how it turned out. And here it is all put together. Isn't it colorful and whimsical? I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It was fun to make and really easy to do. Just, a couple of wood bases, some paint, and some vinyl. And you can create a gingerbread themed mantelscape. I hope you'll give this a try. Happy holidays.